Hello everyone, and welcome to the Week in Review from Wednesday Night Gentlemen. I am your host, Tactic Angel. This is for the week of October 15th, 2016. On this program, we will be talking about the news of the last week or so, and it'll relate to the normal sorts of things that we care about here at Wednesday Night Gentlemen, including comic books, video games, TV shows, movies, and political discourse. So there's not a lot of really good news this week, so this is probably going to be short. So let's jump right into it. First thing, we're going to do the fun stuff, and this first one's a little bit strange. So Wonder Woman, obviously a fictional character, is going to be appointed as a UN ambassador or champion of women. This is something that's hard to believe. I don't know how many other fictional characters are official United Nations employees, but I guess she'll be fighting world hunger and all the other stuff in at least as much of the normal capacity as the United Nations, which is to say, almost kind of not at all. The one thing I can say is I definitely hope she gets a statue. I hope it's badass. I hope it's by that building in New York where they all meet up and give long speeches about all of the things. So what else is going on in the world of comic books? Well, I guess there's a Power Ranger movie coming out. And Power Rangers were technically, I think, a TV show first, but there is a comic book, or several comic books, and there's a new movie coming out. The trailer was just released in the last week. I have linked it in the description below. You can take a look at it. This is a little bit after Midget Radio in my time. I know a lot of people are pumped about it. I think the general consensus is people are a little bit weirded out by this trailer because there are no Zords. Zords are the giant robots that they fight in. I guess that doesn't mean necessarily that there are no Zords in the actual movie, but it has caused some consternation. Moving on from there, because I don't really care. Another trailer came out this week that might interest you. It is the Star Wars Rogue One trailer. I have linked it below. This is something that Midget Radio and I are looking forward to. Probably a lot more than last year's release of Star Wars Episode 7, yada yada yada. We just made A New Hope over again. This is a storyline that's leading up to Episode 4, where people are trying to get the plans to the Death Star so eventually they can take it out, because Death Star is a real game changer, clearly. We get a little bit more of our main character here, the female protagonist whose name I don't know yet. This trailer doesn't seem quite as dark as the first one. I will also link that in the description. I liked the first one better, but I am strangely more confident that I'm going to see it after seeing the second one. Also in the Star Wars vein, which is something I could have talked about last week because this actually happened about 2 weeks ago, the infamous Plinkett reviews are back. Plinkett, over at Red Letter Media, has released a new review of Star Wars Episode 7. You can count on it being pretty brutal. Do not watch this movie if you don't want spoilers and haven't seen it yet. It pretty much gives it all away. That said, I think we all know what happens at this point. And if you watched any of the other Star Wars films, the original 3 I mean, then you've pretty much seen this film. You know, just switch out some of the characters and add some computers. Another fun and exciting news, and we covered a lot of this last week, exploding technology. I know, who doesn't want the machines to come and murder us all? Well, Samsung has been recently pioneering in this area. Rather than going for the old-fashioned sort of robots that kill everyone, instead they've turned your phone into an explosive device. Obviously, the Galaxy Note 7 came out a few months ago. There have been a lot of issues with it. The phone is overheating, it is catching on fire, it is injuring people. Samsung has ordered all of these phones to be replaced, but obviously that recall is going to be based on whether or not people get the message and actually bring in their phones. Until that time, they may be in peril, but even the replacement phones are now exploding. So, Samsung has officially decided to pack it in. The Galaxy Note 7 is being discontinued, and if you already own one, you can return it. I've left a link here so that you can go to PC Advisor, and they'll tell you just how to get rid of that personal incendiary device you've been carrying around. Unfortunately, that pretty much wraps up all of the news that was interesting that doesn't suck. So on to politics. Obviously, Donald Trump has been having some difficulty in the news and in the polls. Just before the last debate, a tape came out where he was saying a lot of really questionable things. Obviously, the whole thing is pretty cringeworthy. In the debate, Donald Trump said that he never really acted on that sort of thing. And if you're a dude, I guess it makes sense, or you'd understand that there's a little bit of bragging, a little bit of making more out of yourself in these sort of claims than is usually actually true. In Trump's situation, he did have a lot of access, though. Anyway, a number of people have come forward and said, yes, he did in fact do things to them, and that it wasn't all just talk. Almost as soon as that happened, some people started saying, nuh-uh, I was there, and he totally didn't do it. Or, the Trump campaign has also put forward an email from one of the accusers that said just what a great boss he was. Just back in April, which would presumably have been significantly after this alleged assault. Not to be deterred by facts, reality, or anything really, Joe Biden came out and said that, in fact, Trump's words are sexual assault. And probably not really. It'd take a pretty darn generous understanding of the definition of sexual assault to say that. And if you could say that words are sexual assault, you could probably say that somebody who cut you off while you were driving is sexual assault, as long as they did it with the purpose of metaphorically having penetrated your lane with their car. Whatever. It's just silly. He shouldn't have said that. Uncle Joe also said that Bill Clinton's indiscretions while he was in the White House and while he was in the governor's house before that shouldn't matter. And actually, on this count, he's pretty close to right. What we may want to pay attention to is whether or not Hillary Clinton's very intentional, very well documented attempts to destroy the several women that Bill slept with, personally, financially, and professionally, whether that makes a difference in the campaign. If you're going to say that there's a war on women, you probably shouldn't wage it yourself. In spite of all of these revelations, Trump seems to be doing relatively well in fundraising. He has now surpassed all other Republican candidates in terms of small donation fundraising. I don't know why you'd give almost any politician money, let alone a billionaire, but as you recall, Bernie Sanders, Barack Obama, and several other candidates over the years have used this sort of statistic to show that they really have popular grassroots support all across the United States, and that they are more electable because of it. That doesn't actually mean that Trump is making a whole bunch of money. It also came out this week that Hillary Clinton is leading in large donors. That is, donors who give her campaign $100,000 or more. So, I mean, there's that. I think that she's the establishment candidate is pretty obvious. On the other side of the political arena, things have not been all sunshine and rainbows either. Just like last week, we had a whole bunch of leaks. These are all coming to us courtesy of WikiLeaks. I'm not going to talk about each one of these because it would take a fucking lifetime, and I'm just not interested in doing that much. All of these articles have descriptions below. Feel free to read away, but here's the rundown of most of the things that are really noteworthy that came out this week. Qatar is funding the Clinton campaign, as well as ISIS, and they know it. Clinton hates everyday Americans. Clinton thinks that Latinos are needy. The State Department gave special contracts to people who are friends of the Clinton Foundation, which ought to go over really well if you were into that Halliburton thing. Clinton staff people said that they should just claim that there was nothing classified and just stick with it, regardless of the facts. Clinton aides touted their cordial relationship with Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, who strangely didn't decide to prosecute her. Clinton was the benefactor of debate questions, snuck to her before the actual debate. Ever wonder why she does so well? Clinton was also given veto rights from the New York Times to get rid of articles that maybe she didn't want written. And Clinton thinks the only reason that Obama won was because of voter fraud, which is curious because normally she's pretty okay with voter fraud. Or says that it doesn't exist. Anyway, none of this stuff matters. Everything's fine in the world. Everything's fine. We hit the reset button. Nobody... Oh no. Russia wants to nuke us. I guess that didn't work either. The United States has apparently taken itself to DEFCON 3. DEFCON, which is the Defense Readiness Condition, is a scale of 1 to 5. 1 is actually the worst. It's pretty much we're all going to die. 5 is kind of where we want to be because it's the lowest defense readiness. That means that we think that we have the least chance of being attacked. 3 is obviously right in the middle. And, that Russian reset, man, it is working wonders. Anyway, that's been the news this week. I will see you next week. And make sure to tune in on Wednesday for the Wednesday Night Gentlemen official podcast, where we will be talking about Luke Cage, Westworld, and the new Wolverine movie coming out. All right, take care, guys.